Every winter, the North Shore gets these huge swells, which means just absolute giant waves, overhead stand-up barrels, and surfers from around the world fly in to surf these waves. And this year, I think I'm ready.
One eternity later.
I made a mistake. I was not ready. So if you don't already know, the ocean is absolutely terrifying. The scariest part of what I just did was, and I lived, of course, but it was pretty touch and go for a second there. The scariest part is the current. So there's these huge waves, and I messed up one duck dive where I tried to go under the wave, but it just picked me up, and I got slammed. I started saying my prayers. It was pretty terrifying. But the current kept sweeping me in. No matter how hard I paddled or how fast I swam, the current of the ocean kept sweeping me in right into the impact zone, where I kept having to take these set waves on the head. It was not fun. I don't know why I did that.
Just like you can get swept up in currents through the water, there are currents in culture that can sweep us up too. I mean, seeing as we're living through a time that's literally probably going to go down in history, it's really easy to get caught up in what's going on around us. I mean, the movies that we watch, the shows that we do, the media that we consume, all influences us and catches us in a current of culture that if we're not aware of, it can sweep us either quickly or slowly. I mean, how many times have you watched something, either like a funny video or a meme, and you start to incorporate that into like your everyday conversation? It's totally normal because humans are social creatures and we try to like relate to one another. But as followers of Jesus, it's important not to get caught up in these currents. So the verse that we're going to talk about today actually discusses this pretty directly. It's from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14, and it says this: "Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming." Now, I think a lot of us, understandably, have been caught up in the current of politics lately. And if not you, then maybe someone you know. And I want you to know that politics are not as important as our relationship to people. Now, an argument against that could be, well, politics do deal with the lives of people, and that is 100% true. But I'm talking more on a micro level, between you and me, not on a huge nationwide scale. And I want to make this extremely clear, that voting is important. Participating in politics is key to our lives in the country that we live in. Your voice matters and your vote matters. However, how you vote versus someone else doesn't make you any more or less of a Christian than if someone voted differently than you. Your hobbies, your beliefs, your what you like to do in your free time does not separate you from others. We as Christians are called to participate, but not get caught up in politics. And that goes across the board for everything else. We can participate in sports, but not get caught up in sports and put our hope and our identity in sports. Or video games. We can play video games, but we're not supposed to put our identity and who we are and everything that we hope for in that. Likewise, just like with politics, we can participate, we can have a preferred candidate, whatever, but we shouldn't be putting all of our hope and our joy or despair and everything hinging on this person winning an election. Because our hope isn't in politics, it's not in a candidate, it's in Jesus. I mean, if we're putting our hope in anything other than Jesus, then it's pretty antithetical to calling yourselves a Christian. To buy into the culture of, haha, you're wrong and I'm right, just because someone thinks about something a different way than you, is missing the whole point. I mean,
we as followers of Jesus are supposed to be the most loving, the most accepting, the most forgiving. And to buy into that culture just goes against what Jesus stood for. And it's crazy to me to see people preaching forgiveness and acceptance and peace and unity on Sunday, and then for the rest of the week pointing fingers and calling names and just absolute vile animosity. But that's not either here nor there. Look, politics aside, this is an important lesson for you to learn just in everyday life. Whenever you get into an argument or a disagreement or you think something's going nuts, it's important as followers of Jesus not to get caught up in our emotions or what people are saying or what's going on around us. Here are some practical tips for how to do that. Well, number one is know what you're watching. It's okay to watch stuff that may have opinions or currents in it, but make sure that you know that you're watching something and you're not just casually letting yourself get swept up in H-box getting wrecked. Number two is limit your screen time. Every Sunday I get an update saying how much time I spent on my phone, and it's kind of worrying. Put down the phone, put down the YouTubes and the Hulus, and spend some time out in the real world, right, fellow kids? Number three is probably the most important, and that's to know what you actually believe. See, one of the huge changes, and an important change to Christianity was when the Bible started getting translated into a language that people could actually read. It's a privilege that we don't even know is a privilege that we have. Knowing what you believe means that when you watch something or you're talking with someone and they present something that's contrary to what you believe, you can weigh it and see if it's actually true or not. By doing that, you're not going to get caught up in the current and just, oh, well, that sounds right, so I'm just going to believe it. I mean, even if I say something that you think might not be right, you can challenge me and talk to me, and we can figure out if it's right or not. You know what? If this was easy, if it was easy to not get caught up in drama or not get caught up in anything, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. But as followers of Jesus, we're called to the higher standard of following God and not following everything that's going on around us. So when you're in a disagreement or a conflict with someone, remember that love is more important than being right. And don't get caught up and swept away by your emotions or by whatever someone else is saying. All right, Alive, we love you and we miss you. We'll see you on Wednesday, or if you're watching this in Wednesday right now, hi, we're glad that you made it. All right, shoots.